Welcome back to the Profit School by Measure You podcast. This is the Business Unfiltered edition, conversation between myself, Jeff Sauer, and my partner, Chris Mercer, who you can now see live in camera. Mercer, today we're going to be talking about AI tactics that you can implement today. So I think this one's going to be pretty actionable and pretty fun. So let's introduce that topic and see if we can get into the strategies and tactics as quickly as we can. So what do you think about when we talk about AI tactics that you can implement today?
Yeah, good question. I think so. The tactical part of that makes me think prompt, to be honest. Like you try this type of prompt, try this type of prompt, try this type of prompt. Oh, go use Grok for this, or go use ChatGPT for that, or build a gem for this, or use Notebook for that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Not so much an overall sort of strategy of thinking about AI, but more like tactical things people can start kind of jumping into to get some real world experience, get a little bit of win, hopefully, from it, get a win from it, and then ideally continue their AI journey. How did I do?
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think we did say tactics, and just so everybody knows, our podcast has a format of defining the topic, strategies, tactics, and then final thoughts. And so we want to get to that tactical part as quickly as possible because one, this episode's about tactics, and two is that's where a lot of the fun is happening in AI. Like if we were to tell you a strategy with AI is to use this tool, by the time this is published, that tool may have been updated. It may be different. So we don't want to get too locked into technology and time. We want to talk about more things you can do that will work regardless of the GPT you use, regardless of the situation, and try to focus on more timeless things, just ways to look at the world. And so, tactics are often the thing that you can plug and play, right? So for example, we might say something that's working for us on Google's Gemini, and you could probably do the same thing on ChatGPT. So when Mercer's talking about prompting, there's tactical ways to get better responses from prompting that we think will work, as opposed to the strategy is you need to come up with a prompt that AI will go and do something for you. So that the strategic thing is that you're going to create a prompt, but how you do it is usually how you're going to get better results. Okay, so from a strategic perspective, there's a lot of things you can do in AI. You can write code. You can have agents that you can build out. You can make images. You can have notebooks of different things. You can create prompts. You can say, as a copywriter, go and do this thing for me. Those are a lot of the strategies people are seeing, and that there's a lot of content out there about that. But what we found is that usually that content is either out of date or it's a little bit backwards. So yeah, we can focus more on the tactical execution of this stuff and get some good value out of this thing. So does that make sense to you? Is there any other strategies that we should talk about, or should we just get right into the tactics and talk about this prompting stuff and talk about how you're going to get a better result?
I think we can get into just diving into it. Give people something actionable. The first thing that I think needs to be mentioned though is, and it goes back to where you're talking about the prompting. There's a lot of the prompts that people are creating have come about because they're not quite thinking about prompting in the best possible way today. They're thinking about prompting as it was a year ago.
Yeah.
And a year ago was very different of what you needed to do and how you needed to do it. Nowadays, it's just easier for AI to prompt itself. So the first tactic I would say that we started using, and this was in early January, and it was the unlock for us in terms of getting AI integrated everywhere and helping everybody start to use it in the organization, helping us get better responses from it, was by basically giving a prompt to the AI and then prompting it to read that prompt and figure out, what am I actually trying to do? And then you write the prompt that I have no idea how to write that would achieve this. So that from a first tactical perspective, I think that is by far the most powerful one that I can share, because it is a little bit of strategy, but it is a tactic where you just say, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. Hey, AI, you go figure out what I'm trying to do. Then you write the post or you write the prompt. And then chances are, then you just create a new chat. And then you start with that prompt that AI gave you. So AI is using its own prompt. And at that point, you typically get a better result, no matter what you're trying to do, whether it's an email series, writing a sales page, trying to think through something or brainstorm something, everything I use that specific tactic for.
I like that. Do you want to go into a little bit more depth on that, like how you do that? Because I do think that it's pretty novel, and I just saw you do a presentation on this yesterday, and I thought it was pretty cool. So how does that work?
Sure. So the basic premise, by the way, this is we have these prompts. If you want to check them out, you can go to profitschool.com/AI guide. Again, profitschool.com/AI guide, all one word, and you'll see the prompts that we're talking about. But I call it ping pong prompting. That's kind of what we came up with. And when I say we, I mean AI. I used AI, and AI was like, "Oh, this is just ping pong prompting." I'm like, "Yes, that's a great way to reference this." So essentially, what it does, there's two prompts that we use. One is as a prompt that we basically use for AI to have AI go through our initial prompt, right? Our little human best attempt prompt. And we prompt AI to say, hey, go through this prompt that I wrote, analyze it, rate it until you fully understand on a scale of 1 to 10, you fully understand it as a 10, meaning you understand the actual intended result, right? What the desired result that I'm trying to get from this prompt. And I think this is truly a key. You also understand on a rating scale of 10 out of 10 the hidden intention. In other words, what is the result behind the result? What am I really trying to achieve with this result? Right. So AI goes through your prompt and it'll try to analyze it and understand, okay, here's the stuff that I need to really know so I get what the result is that they're trying to do. And then it goes, but why are they trying to do it? So it starts to analyze for the hidden intent behind that, which is very important. So now it understands why you want the result and the result that you're trying to produce, so that when it gets that to a 10 out of 10, that's the very first prompt, you then prompt it with the second prompt, is what we call it ping-ponging back and forth, because then you come in and you say, okay, well, now that you fully understand it, please write me the prompt that I should have written, right? Or that you would expect that would actually get me a result better than the intended result. And what happens is now, because AI knows what result you initially wanted, kind of like the first mountaintop you were able to describe to the AI, it understands why you want to climb that mountaintop. It understands the hidden intention behind the result. And what I'm basically doing with that second prompt, what we're doing there is we're saying, you tell us what we really want to try to get to, which is mountaintop number 2. I just don't know how to describe that because I'm too far away from it. I don't know what that result is. But if I can go to AI and say, you analyze the direction I'm going, you analyze why I'm going there, and you get me to step 2, 3, or 4, even though I have no idea what that is. You tell me how that happens. And that's what that second prompt does. So again, the first prompt is just rating on a scale of 1 to 10 for the intention behind the result and for the desired result. And then once it does understand that, then you do the same thing with the prompt. Say, now create the prompt that is likely to get me something better than what you think I want. And so now it's because it understands hidden intention, it can now, hopefully, in most cases, at least I found, it gets me to the next step that I didn't even know that I wanted.
Yeah.
And it gives me a better result that way. So that is how you do that. And again, that ping pong prompt, the actual prompts, which I copy and paste whenever I'm doing this myself, are on that guide over at profitschool.com/AI guide.
I love it. Yeah, it's funny. And you were mentioning that we've evolved. Like the way that we did this in 2024 was, I use this thing called Prompt Chef, because it was really about context and feeding it information about our business. Like, what is our business? What is the tone that we talk in? And what's our standards? Like, what type of copy do we use? Do we use I words versus we words versus you words? What words are on our ban list? Like, we banned these words. And that was because prior to that, you would just say, hey, you're a copywriter, write me copy about this thing. And it would actually take a lot of liberties and not be very good at that. And so then we have Prompt Chef, which keeps us like, hey, here's the base thing we need to put in there. Here's the unique thing about this prompt. It'll get us better outputs. But what ended up happening was, it was a pretty difficult tool to maintain, because every time that you got a good prompt, it's like, where do you save that to, right? Do you have like a library of that? How do you change the context? It was a lot of words, which worked pretty well, but it didn't always understand our business, even if we wanted it to. And so taking that, improving upon it, iterating on it, and then doing this ping pong prompting, it's basically having AI do the prompting for you. So we used to have a tool to do that. Now we're using the AI to get to that point. And then the cool thing is, you can always do more refinements. Like the refinement piece is really such a tactical thing to do. Like when you're talking about prompting, how you refine it is going to get you a better result. It's going to start at a 7 out of 10, maybe even a 5 out of 10. Next refinement, 8 out of 10. Next refinement, 9.5 out of 10. In the eyes of AI, it's never going to be a 10 out of 10. But what happens if you run it through another level of refinement, which is through the swipe files of all the greatest copywriters? That might be a chance that you're going to get better headlines. Hey, how can you rewrite this page as these copywriters? So then you can pull it into a notebook. You can pull it into these other areas. and see if you hit the mark. Then you refine it again and you say, okay, well, now go back to the original intent. Is this better at matching that intent? Is this going to get us a better result? Which is how you can, that's the ping ponging. So it's not, there's base level is start with what you want, have AI write a better prompt, then keep on working back and forth with the AI. Then there's using other AI tools to highlight what they're best at, and that can really get you a better result. As opposed to in 2024, what we were doing was we were letting AI, we were basically trying to give it all the information it needed about us in order to get that result. That's less necessary now because it already knows a lot about you. It has more capabilities of looking around the internet. It has more capabilities of following links and stuff like that. So it can infer a lot of that stuff without having to get as much background context. And then it really focuses more on things like personas. At some point, I do want to get into our persona thing too, because that's really rad what you've created. As I was going through the things, the tactical stuff that I have, one thing that I'm doing now is using AI to summarize things before I do anything else. Summarize this topic, summarize, you could call it research, which that's a whole new topic of research. We'll talk about that in a little bit too, but like summarize what this thing is. So if I do a YouTube video, what is this about? So I actually took a webinar that you did and I ran it, and I took the hour and a half that you did, and I said, can you just summarize the key points of this thing, of this webinar that Mercer put out there? And it did. It said, number one was about how you have to change to the way AI is going. Number two was about prompting strategy. It was really results-based prompting, which you touched upon, which we can call ping pong prompting as a tactical way to do it. And then there's another topic in there about, there's more focused on what we're going to teach in the workshop. And what I used was I was like, okay, I think I got 3 videos here that I can do. If AI thinks this is about these 3 things, that's 3 YouTube videos that I can create. One about how it's changing, one about results-based prompting, and then one about this other part. And then I even have timestamps on there. So I took your webinar and I came up with 3 YouTube video ideas without having to watch the whole thing again. And it was like, and it just makes sense. Like what rises to the top from AI? Because if AI is looking at this piece of text and saying that's the most important thing, do you know what else that means? It means that Google, the search engine, is probably going to think this is the most important thing. It means that YouTube is looking at this topic and wanting to do it. So there's a lot of value in summarizing. So I'm just taking big things of content, summarizing it first, and then using that as my way to decide what do I want to go after. Am I going to get it wrong? Probably. But the alternative is not doing anything at all, which is what I was doing. I was like, I have these tabs open with YouTube videos that I'm never going to watch. I'm never going to take action on it. This is getting me to action much faster. Yep. How about you? Does that, I know you mentioned some stuff on research and you're doing stuff like this too. Have you done anything like that?
So just to get back to some tactical stuff for everybody. So I think I'm personally very comfortable with the Gemini platform. So I'm going to focus on that. I know others are out there and that's awesome, but I'm going to do Gemini because we're already paying for it and it's got all the data. So I've really just focused on that and building within that universe. So as an example, I will use Notebook LM. You mentioned notebooks earlier. That's what that was referencing, is Notebook LM. So everybody go to notebooklm.google.com. You all have access to a free version of this if you have a Google account. Most of you have Notebook LM Plus, especially if you have a Workspace account, because you're paying for it anyway. It's embedded with those now. So we'll create these little notebook experts. Like we have an example where we do the Manager's Book Club that we do once a month. And we'll go and we'll take a business book or some book that we're all wanting to learn or something we all want to talk about kind of from a leadership team perspective. And we'll create a Notebook LM that is a little virtual expert of everything around that book. And the beauty of Notebook LM, especially for me, because I'm more of an auditory learner, I like listening to stuff, especially podcasts. And they have that podcast feature where you just generate a podcast and it summarizes everything that's in there. The real sort of pro tip power move there is you can customize those podcasts, which is what I do. So I'll load up the notebook with like a bunch of YouTube videos that are all about the book itself. Again, pro tip for that, just look for long YouTube videos. You can go to filter on YouTube and say, show me everything over 20 minutes. So you get some real meaty content. You load up the Notebook LM with all of that around whatever the topic is that you're trying to be an expert on or that you want it to teach you. Then you go to the podcast and you say, all right, you're talking to this person. Here's their LinkedIn profile, and give a URL to the LinkedIn profile so you can go learn about them. Please role play a conversation between this person that you're talking to and you're the instructor and you're training this person. And you can kind of have it do tone and change what it does. And it's talking to somebody from Measure U. It uses examples based on Measure U's examples that it finds. It's highly relevant, very customizable training examples that it comes up with that I can actually do something with, versus a generic podcast around the business book that summarizes the core principles of the business book. That sounds like everybody else's generic podcast. I have a direct customized training that says, here's how you take these principles of this book and apply it in your job description, your role in your company as you currently are. And so we'll do this for myself. I'll do this for a customer experience team, so they have examples. We'll do it for product development if it's around building out courses or something like that. So Notebook LM, huge from a tactical standpoint, massive, massive potential that I think people are underutilizing that tool because they're using it for a research assistant, which is what it was built for, right? It was built for academic research assistants, and it is fantastic at that and citing everything and getting through a bunch of stuff. If you have a lot of data to get through, you can ask questions about it. But boy, that podcasting, using it for training stuff. Imagine, yeah, I want to be a really good copywriter. I want to get better at offers. I want to get better at whatever the thing is. Create a Notebook LM, do the podcast, customize it, and now you've got this personal trainer that's always in your ear. And again, that could be for mindset stuff. That could be for tactical educational stuff that you need to learn in your business, or just some stuff you want to do as a hobby for fun. You can use this for all sorts of things.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, I use it all the time. I even put down like your own back catalog is a lot of expertise. We have it all of our courses, anything that I've ever done presentation wise, anything that Mercer's done, I just ping it. It's basically like I can talk to Mercer and get his knowledge without even having to do a meeting. And it's much more efficient if you're in the middle of something. I don't have to like drop everything and get somebody, a human on a call. I can just tap into their brain and then I can clarify them. Hey, did you mean this? Or does that make sense? Or is this cool? You know, so that's where we do our little check-in calls to do that part. But it just gets us further, because one of the biggest things that one of the biggest breakthroughs that AI can do for anybody is that you're not waiting. You know, it lets you have speed. One of our core values at our company is speed to result. And speed to result is all about how do I get that result the fastest? And then, you know, we have other checks and balances to make sure that it's the best version of that. We trust but verify, we TBV things, but ultimately speed to result is so important that we are able to do that faster with AI, to the point where, since that's one of our core values in our business, we are becoming an AI first business, right? And that's really something that I think is really important to distinguish, is that if AI makes you faster, then you can become AI first. But if it fits into your values, then that's just what you should be. We're not just riding a wave. We are not doing ourselves a service if we don't do that. And that's really important of a distinction from my perspective. So yeah, using your own back catalog as an expert. And then the other thing is just this whole idea of deep research. I'm not nearly as versed in deep research as you are. I mean, I love the idea of it, but basically you can use a module in Google's AI. In Gemini, you can do it in OpenAI. There's probably, by the time that you watch this video, 6 other people have the exact same product name. Yeah.
Grok has it now.
And they're all going to call it deep research for whatever reason, right? But the version of it is they're scouring the internet and all the sources they have, summarizing them, and then producing a report that normally a company would have to pay $20,000 and wait 6 months for, and they're getting it delivered to them right on their doorstep, and it's solid. It gets you what you need and the results you're looking for. And so that's a big one. In the tactical part,
I can give you some tactics on that if you want.
Some tactics on that.
Yeah. So like on deep research, here's a perfect example of how to use this tool: instruction manuals. So I will go out and have deep research, regardless of whatever the tool is. Doesn't matter. Just get the deep research done. And I use the ping pong prompting, right, to say, hey, I want to create I want to know everything there is to know about creating highly converting sales pages, right? I want to create an instruction manual for this. So I use the ping pong prompting we talked about earlier to define the result. Then I'm giving that to deep research, so it gets its prompt from AI for itself. Then it creates a report that says, here's everything you need to know about high converting sales pages, each individual section, what each individual section needs to have, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the trick to this is not to stop there. It's to say, okay, AI first gives me every different component of a sales page and breaks it down. Let's just say, for example, it goes, here's headlines, and here's what a headline should be doing, and here's the body or the lead copy, and here's what the lead copy should be doing, and the subhead and the hero visuals and all of the stuff that it does. Oh, here's the copy, and it sort of just summarizes. And it might give you like a 10 or 15 page report that's going to be useful, but it's going to be somewhat generic. It'll still be useful, but it'll be somewhat generic. It'll say like, oh, headlines should be, compelling and engaging. And you're like, well, duh, of course. Right. But I want it to be an expert. I want to be able to know everything there is to know about headlines. So what do I then do? So what you do is you take your first initial pass at it. It breaks it down into the components. Then you do another deep research on each component. So you say, okay, we're going to do a deep research report where you're going to know everything about headlines, how to write them, what they are, what the purpose is, what the fonts are, how they should be laid out, how the design affects the headlines, difference between the subheadline and regular headlines and eyebrow copy and lower copy. And I want you to know everything about headlines. And then I have a 10-page report that's just about headlines and everything there is to know about them, the design, the inference, where they came from, the origination of them, like everything. So that piece, that 10-page little report that I get for headlines, I now go to my original report, the original report I got from deep research, and I'm where it says, first you have to have headlines and they should be good. Now I replace that with, no, you need headlines. Here's everything there is to know about headlines. And then I move on to the next section. Okay, let's talk about lead copy now. Okay, let's talk about offer and pricing. Okay, oh, there should be a risk reversal. Cool. I want you to know everything there's to know about guarantees and risk reversal. And you do this over and over again. And does this take time? Yes. But it's, as you were saying earlier, the whole point of AI is it ultimately collapses time, because once you nail this down, you never have to do it again, which is what you were saying was the original point with Prompt Chef. It's like, once you get your prompt chef, cool, I can copy and paste them because you want to capture that. But with AI, it's getting easier and easier to build these little like Lego bricks of useful things that once you get them nailed down, don't get me wrong, there's always going to be refinement and humans are always in the loop, right? We're not just copying and pasting AI, but holy cow, can you get some stuff moving when you just spend a few hours building out these instruction manuals. And now you go to your, let's say we created avatars. We can talk about that later too, these conversational avatars. We have a customer avatar that I can put into Notebook LM or into a Gemini Gem and say, this is the avatar. Oh, here's everything there is to know about writing high converting sales pages with all those stuff out. So now you're an expert copywriter and you're dedicated to the success of my company. Write me the sales page you wish I had written for you, and then you get completely different, wild, creative thoughts and ideas. Again, doesn't mean it's going to be copy and paste copy, but it's something you look at and you go, I never really thought about that. Wow, I have talked to customers who have said that stuff before. And then you go, well, let me just what if you could just run your company by having your customers do it for you? And that's what we can do with AI because of that. Again, deep research is a component to that because it creates the instruction manuals that we then feed into all of that. Right. Or that you could use for Notebook LM. Like, oh, I'm trying to figure out how to do YouTube videos and I want to be the best YouTube video in the world. Create an instruction manual and then go and do, okay, let's learn everything about thumbnails. Okay, let's do everything about the first 30 seconds of a video from the beginning of video all the way up to present, and everything in between. Like, that's what makes it amazing because you only have to do that once,
Well, and the people who are successful do this. They just don't tell you about it. Any successful copywriter has a swipe file, which is where they copy the copy that they like, and then they handwrite it. They've been the advice forever, is handwrite it, because then you get familiar. You get the muscle memory with being a good writer. That's a swipe file. Everybody's doing that. This just makes it so much, I almost look at this as like you're bionic at this point. You are a cyborg. Yeah. You have all the knowledge in the world that can be found for you, and then you have it augmented to your brain and a feed into it. Now, right now, it's not like an actual Neuralink connection where this is built into your brain. You have to be able to go and find it. At some point, that might be there, or it might just be intuitive where you think it and then it will do it. Now, there's a difference, though, between, you could be like, well, I can just Google that. There's actually a pretty big difference between search and research. Search is ultimately, the whole point of search is you're looking at a keyword and then it's giving you the best answer for that keyword, but it doesn't really understand the intent and it can't go to that level of depth. And it doesn't they're choosing for you. So that's all algorithm based. With deep research, I'm guessing some of it's algorithm based. Like they're deciding what the right sources are and that, but they're opening up to a wider swath of sources. The other thing is when you refine it, you own the output. So what Mercer is describing here is like doing a whole research report and then adding research to it. He owns the output from step 1 through step N. Like he owns it all. We own it all. And that's something that normally you'd have to pay a research company to do that, 20 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, or you'd have to be that person who has the swipe file that you've been maintaining. Now you just have it in a much faster way. Is it going to be perfect? Absolutely not. But at least it's so much better, right? Like perfection is not really necessary unless you're going to be the number one person in your field. You're already doing that anyway. For everybody else, For everybody else who's just trying to get by, just trying to run their small business, just trying to make things better, this is good enough. This is so much better than relying on the hippo's opinion, the highest paid person's opinion, or instinct or experience. So I love this, and you actually are touching on something that I was going to ask you about anyway. So I'm going to use our space to talk about this one, but for short form videos, YouTube videos, it's just this idea of like you need like hooks. Like there are hooks that work better than other ones. Could we use deep research to figure out what hooks work with short form videos? Yep. Could we figure out what thumbnails work best? Can we figure out what type of keywords, do you need a keyword in there? What hashtags are working? Can we dissect like a successful channel and have it give us a plan for what we should do every single day moving forward? Is it at that level or not? And then, because I there's tactical stuff where you can use HeyGen and 11 Labs, a voice clone, which I have. I've cloned my voice. We did our audio book for service stacking using that. But then HeyGen, we can take this video right now and we could actually make us read a script and make a short form video, even from this podcast, for example. Is that something we could do where we could get those hooks and everything like that? Is there limitations to what can be researched? Just curious.
Yeah. No, all that stuff, because everything's out there. There are no new ideas ever. There's just combinations of different ingredients that have already existed for millennia. Same thing with AI. Same thing with there's only so many ways to write a hook. You know, and they're all based, even different hooks that you've never heard of before come from the same category of hook, right? It's just somebody's implementation of it. So AI knows how to do everything. We just got to get it from AI on that. So I think that's easy.
Nice.
But I like that idea, because you're right. You're asking it to go do but you have to do that deep dive stuff, right? And again, I think the ping pong prompting is super useful for that. Real quick on that note, and then I'll hand it back to you for kind of final thoughts as we wrap up. But a final tactic that I found very, very useful is when you're doing the ping pong prompting and you get your AI to say, okay, what is the prompt that I should have written? Please write that. It'll write the prompt. You can just copy and paste. Like if you're using Gemini or ChatGPT and you're in this sort of chat interface of those tools, you can just start a new chat and then paste that prompt in, and then you'll get a better result typically. However, if you know you're going to be using, let's say, deep research, or you're going to be using anything to generate an image like Gemini or whatever you're using to generate images, the next step, again, is sort of like a little pro tip tactic on this, is you say, hey, please rewrite this prompt for this specific tool. So it's specific to take advantages of this tool. And then I'll put the tool in quotes. So it definitely is focusing on that. So I might say like, please rewrite this prompt so it takes full advantage of, quote, Gemini 1.5 Pro with deep research, right? And then end quote. And then it'll rewrite it, and it'll have all sorts of like hashtags and asterisks and very specific things. And it'll be telling it, oh, you go use this function, because it knows it has that function, where I had no idea how to talk to the thing. I never have to learn how to talk to the thing. I just got to get the thing to talk to itself. That's all I care about. And it's so much faster to do that, right? Again, collapsing time. But when you do that, you get these massive prompts that are so well intentioned that when you go through the research, when you were talking about, oh, maybe you could just do this on your own, this thing will go through on average, I have seen it do this, where it's going through hundreds, like 336. I have screenshots, because I was like, holy cow, 336 different websites. It's going through and researching to find stuff. And does it need it all? No, but it's grabbing it all. Then it goes through and analyzes it and throws out the stuff that it found was not useful. And then it compiles everything. But you can't possibly spend the time necessary and ever produce a product that's going to beat deep research on a race, because I can iterate it faster than you ever could. It's not even a battle worth trying. So practice that ping-ponging stuff, going back and forth. Ask it to write, if you know you're doing a specific tool, like an image generator or something like that, do that. And you'll get these amazing prompts that you will never have to learn how to do. And this is what I love. I know how to do basically 2 prompts, and I just do those thousands of times. Like, that's it. It's so simple. And AI, because of that, got more useful for me. So I just wanted to pass those on, and I'll let you take it as for final thoughts there.
That's great. It's like a modern day version of a kid asking mom for permit for something, and then when she says no, asking dad.
Kind of, yeah.
For a better result.
Yep.
That's awesome. So that wraps up this Business Unfiltered conversation. Thank you for listening to the Profit School by Measure You podcast. Share what you've learned, and be sure to check us out at profitschool.com and join our community. And rate and review this podcast on your favorite platform. And we'll see you in our next episode.